Knock your pay.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you should.
That actually means something with Ethan. Doesn't mean jack with you.
Talk my pay. What?
Not yet, at least. Hey, we are live.
Yeah.
Awesome. Welcome back to Switchcast Live. And live is why it's fun here. Those of you listening to the audio podcast later on don't get to experience the drama. But 2 minutes before we went live, I heard Ethan, our producer, say, dummy Ethan, you got to plug it in.
Dummy. That was what I said.
We run a
Something
tight ship
to
here
that
at Switchcast.
Why are we not getting audio? Anyway, well, 2 years and change in, and we still have our little foibles, but we are certainly getting better. We enjoy being here with you, and we're trying our best to be professional. Anyway, I'm your host, Doug Tabbitt, and Switchcast is the automotive-related podcast where we are searching for the truth and the humor in the car industry. That's right. If it ain't true, it better be funny. With me tonight is Tyler Sanders, our official supplier of banter, and Ethan Huffnagel, our producer, who was a little off his game 5 minutes ago, but he is going to make up for it by being awesome for the rest of the night.
Look out. Yeah, here
he
we
is
come.
back.
That's right.
The sound quality is going to be great.
Yeah, produce the heck out of this one.
Oh, boy. Thank you all for being here with us tonight. If you're watching us live on TikTok, YouTube, or Facebook, throw your comments or questions in wherever you're watching live in the comment flow, and we will do our best to address them throughout the show tonight. We certainly appreciate interacting with each and every one of you who are here with us every Wednesday. So thank you for being here. A little bit of automotive news this week. I found a very interesting statistic. It was the automotive brands with the worst drivers in the U.S. Now, I appreciated this statistic. I'm a little bit of a stats nerd. It probably started with reading the book Freakonomics and basically just opened my eyes on how to look at things differently. And I love the quote that statistics don't lie, but liars use statistics. And there was another automotive stat that I read in the news just before this. I don't remember what it was, and it doesn't matter because I looked at it and I said, this is completely irrelevant. Oh, is it the top 10 most stolen cars in the U.S.? And essentially it just correlated to the top 10 most sold cars in the U.S. for the most part because it wasn't per number sold. Like it didn't have a control metric. It was just the top 10 number. And I'm like, this means nothing because like the Ford F-150 was number 2 and that's the number 1 selling vehicle in the US. So it's like, well, no kidding. Right. So I appreciate when statistics are put in context and actually have a real meaning. So the one I liked here was the brands with the worst drivers in the US. Now, this is not total number of accidents and tickets and stuff. This is accidents, tickets, citations, etc. per 1,000 vehicles.
DUIs around here too.
Oh yes, DUIs
amazing.
as well. That's right. That's right. Yes. So Ram leads the charge.
Sure.
Pun intended.
Yeah.
Ram Charger.
Good one.
Ew.
Yeah. Actually, so speaking of Rams, slight sidetrack here, maybe a giant one. Have you heard about the new 2025 Ram Charger?
Oh, boy.
I have not.
Okay. It's pretty interesting. So it has a V6 it is classified as an EV, but it has a V6, the Pentastar engine under the hood, which sends power to a generator, which the generator then feeds 2 electric motors, one in the front, one in the rear. And fittingly, it's called the Ram Charger. I'm not.
They're not wrong.
Joke. This is
Good.
right.
Yeah.
And that's it's a throwback to the old Ram Charger of the '80s, right? But it's an appropriate name. It has a 690-mile targeted range. That is key when we're talking about EVs because there's a lot of bold claims that have been made. Anyway, 690-mile targeted range, which is better than, I think the full EV Ram has a 500-mile range targeted, but the batteries weigh 2.5 times what the batteries weigh in this one. But I find it ironic that the best way to extend an EV's range is to charge it with a combustion engine right from the factory.
They're just taking out the middleman. They're making sure aftermarket companies can't get in.
No,
here
the
and strap it
generator.
in.
The generator's the middleman.
Yeah, well. So you could just take your Tesla and strap a generator in the trunk, and
You say that. The first Tesla prototype, the T0, that's exactly what it did.
Oh, really?
But it was like a little trailer because it was this like little tiny super sleek aerodynamic car. But in order to achieve, I think it was a 400-mile range, that was with a generator on a trailer. But the funny thing is, when I saw this at the Peterson Museum, the prototype had a zero emissions sticker, like a zero emissions pass for inner city in California on it. And I'm like, what about the diesel generator behind it? Does that get a sticker? No, it's just a trailer. It doesn't count.
loopholes.
Anyway, so it was funny, though, to see people on the internet arguing about whether the Ram Charger should be classified as an EV or hybrid because of this new technology. Right? Except this is century-old technology. It's called a series hybrid, and it was first used in an automobile application on the Owen Magnetic.
Have we talked about this before?
We've talked about the Owen Magnetic before.
Yeah.
But it's also used regularly. Those who are trained engineers will know this right off the bat. It's used regularly in diesel locomotives. So this is actually not new technology at all. The Ram Charger has bi-directional charging capabilities, so it can power your house or another EV, which I think is actually kind of cool. What I think is dumb, though, is that Ram's official website lists this as an electric truck, quote unquote. It's not. It's not.
Not sure how I feel about that.
I'm sure how I feel about it, and it's deceptive, misleading, slightly. It's a hybrid. Anyway, I can get on board with this, right? Like, I'm not on board with EVs. All of you know this, but I think hybrids are the way of the future, and I think this is kind of cool. It's not new technology. It's proven to be very, very efficient in train applications. I think they just have to admit that it is what it is, and it's hybrid.
Well, I think that's like the biggest problem is the answer to the way of the future is going to be multifaceted, and nobody seems to want to admit that to themselves, that, you know, it's not going to be all EVs, or it's going to be a combination of things.
Yes.
I was listening to a podcast or something that Richard Hammond was on, that I'm sure most of you know who he is, and he was essentially talking about the same thing, that like synthetic fuels are a way of banking wind energy or other types of renewables into something that can be used by the billions of cars on the road now.
Right.
And the cost it would take to flip all of the cars on the road and create the infrastructure needed for all EVs is just not feasible.
Right.
In probably our lifetime.
Well, and it's damaging to the environment as well, both from a
Yes.
disposal point of view of what we have now and from a construction point of view of the new. Like,
Exactly.
I'm not saying that in and of itself is a reason not to move to the future. But if there is an alternative like hydrogen, like natural gas, or like the zero emissions carbon neutral fuel, which we are working on and making progress on, that doesn't require a complete reinvention of the global infrastructure for powering stuff, let's go with that first.
Yes.
Let's try that first.
Because it works with what we already have. It like solves a massive problem, like a large chunk of the problem. It doesn't fix the problem, but no one thing is going to.
Yeah. But back to our main topic, or our original topic, you know, we keep getting distracted by EVs. So worst drivers in the U.S. So the Ram leads. No surprise to a lot of you who are on the road with these stereotypical drivers. Tesla is number 2 behind Ram. So those autopilots must really suck at driving.
Is there a way to know if the autopilots are what sucks or just the people buying Teslas?
BMW is right up there as well because they can't use their turn signals. Nissan is at the lowest of the list. Now, this does not mean that they are the best. They're essentially just at the bottom of the so-called top 10. So they're the least of the worst. So, for example, like Ford isn't on the list at all.
Yeah.
There was not a single GM product on the list, Hank. That will be no surprise to Hank at all.
Because they don't drive their... Anyway.
Yes, they never drive their Corvettes, right. But like all GM products, they weren't on the list of the worst. But yeah, I was surprised to see that Nissan was the lowest there. But I think there is a valid explanation for that.
What is that?
Well, you can't measure crashes, tickets, and DUIs when they all leave the scene and run from the cops.
Fact. Is that why Audi is so far down there too, or no? Is that just Nissan?
Yeah, I don't know. A separate, somewhat unrelated stat from last year showed that the Mitsubishi.
How you doing, Ethan? Doug
The
needs a
Mirage.
second.
The Mirage has the worst safety rating of any car on the road. 205 deaths per million registered vehicles. It's no surprise the thing is like the size of this table, but
Yeah, and it's not even made as well.
right. So if you want your kids to be safe, don't buy a Mitsubishi Mirage. Yes. On that note, it is time for commercial.
I think so. Switchcast is brought to you by Boxcast. Boxcast is a live streaming company based in Cleveland, Ohio, and they serve broadcasters and viewers around the world. Their founders launched Boxcast back in 2013 with a single purpose: to make people a part of the experience. So if you're looking to live stream your podcast, church service, car show, sporting event, wedding, or even your cannonball attempt, Boxcast is an easy and flexible live streaming platform for organizations. Boxcast is so easy, in fact, that we're broadcasting this show with a phone. So head on over to switchcars.com/Boxcast for your free trial. And everybody, you know what time it is. Hank is in here in the studio with us, the Corvette curmudgeon. Welcome.
Thank you, Tyler.
We're back in our normal...
Happy New Year.
Ooh, yes, Happy New Year. Did you have a good holiday?
Well, I didn't win my scratch-offs, so that was a bummer.
Neither did I.
But, it's a new year. Another chance this year.
Yeah. You got to wait a little bit, but this time I'll be rooting for you.
Thank you.
So we're back in our normal place this week.
Not going to ask me what I would buy if I won the lottery?
What would you buy, Hank?
Well, I'd probably buy a house in Florida for Margaret.
Okay. Just
And,
for Margaret?
Well, yeah, I might go down there too. Okay. There's some good car shows down there. Here they have some pretty good trophies.
Oh, yeah.
But I think I might buy another couple Corvettes too.
What kind of Corvettes would you buy?
Well, I think I'd buy a 1953 Corvette.
Okay. Yeah.
And a 1967 Corvette.
Okay.
Big block. And 1963 Corvette. And 1956 Corvette. Yep. And 1978 pace car.
Okay.
And, 1993 anniversary edition. As much as I don't like Corvette C4s, an anniversary edition is pretty nice. And probably a 96 Grand Sport. I have quite the collection. I'd get some of the vintage gas pumps and put them up in the garage and do a marble floor and, some old gas station signs and stuff on the wall. Build a real man cave.
That'd be pretty sweet.
Yep. I'd have my own Keno machine, too.
Could you rig that
I
in
could
your
charge
favor?
my friends to come over and make a little bit of money off of it.
Yeah.
So, speaking of buying some Corvettes, I saw a Corvette online. Doug sent this to me, actually. A 2013 Corvette ZR1. This is a C6, the last built ZR1. So, the last one they ever built is for sale online right now.
That's not the last ZR1. They made a C7 ZR1.
The last C6 ZR1.
No, okay. Getting real into the weeds, that guy is. Must want people to think his car is special.
Oh, there's a whole lot of things here. It's a VIN number 482, one of 54 C6 ZR1s produced in Night Race Blue Metallic.
Oh, yep. Rare color. That's always a good thing.
It's got the 60th anniversary
Probably
design
not as rare
package.
as the color on mine, but anyway, I'll let him have his moment.
Well, it is one of one confirmed by the National Corvette Museum.
I don't know about that. I think mine's the only one of one.
Well, I'll leave that for you guys to hash out. This guy's the only one that's owned this car. It's only got 55 miles on it.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, It's probably never seen rain either, right?
I would imagine he doesn't say, but I don't think it has.
Okay. All right. Well, that's pretty good. He took pretty good care of it then.
I would think so. The photos do look pretty good. I mean, it's a pretty...
That might be a car I would buy. Sounds like he really babied it.
How much do you think this person is asking for this car?
Oh, good question. I mean, I think that was probably about a $90,000 car new, back in the day, 10, 12 years ago. So, I don't know. They depreciate a little bit, some rebates and stuff they got when they're new. So, I don't know, maybe $70,000.
It is listed for $399,900.
What? What is his problem?
Don't worry. Serious offers are considered, Hank.
Yeah, I bet they are. No lowballers, yeah. I'd like to give that guy a piece of my mind. Was he trying to retire off of that thing or what? Is he one of them dealers?
I don't...
Flipping it, the freaking rip-off, driving up the market, taking advantage of people like that?
It's pretty tough to see. That is a lot of money for a C6.
Goodness gracious.
So to cleanse your palate, I do have another Corvette to talk to you about. So this one Doug also sent to me on Facebook. This is about a 1963 C2. It is a convertible. It's
a good
black.
year of them. Yep.
It is a manual. It's a great car.
Yep.
This guy is the only owner. He has owned it since new in 1963.
Oh, wow. Yep. So he really loves his car. How many trophies does he have?
He doesn't have typical trophies.
Okay.
Like he doesn't carry them around in a case with whatever with him, but he's got he's made a lot of memories.
Well, trophies are too big to put in a case. You might know that if you ever won one.
But he's made a lot of memories with this car. It has. Well, actually, no. Let me ask you. One owner has had this car since 1963. How many miles has he put on it?
Oh, goodness. Well, probably about 200 miles a year. So, probably about, I don't know, about 10, 20,000 miles total would be about right.
It has 610,000 miles.
What? 610,000 miles?
The engine has been rebuilt at least once, and the rebuilt engine has 200,000 miles on it.
Goodness gracious. Sounds like a waste of money. Probably a lot cheaper to buy a TV instead of driving around aimlessly.
But he took it all over the country and Canada with his wife, and they made many memories, and he drove it on track and took it to autocrosses and road tripped it.
What are autocrosses?
It's like driving around little tracks made out of cones in parking lots.
That sounds like a good way to scratch your car.
Not if you don't hit anything, you're fine. But 600, can you imagine putting 610,000 miles on any car?
That's ridiculous. Why would anyone need to drive that far?
Because he's the experiences.
I drive 10 miles round trip to work, and all my family lives within 12 miles. And I don't really go out on the weekends unless there's a show and it's good weather and low humidity, and I can win a trophy.
Well, he's had a couple more places to go, I guess. But before we cut you loose for the evening, Jeremiah Johnson on YouTube has a super chat for you.
I don't know what that is. Does it come with a cape?
It does not. He sent us a little bit of money. Thank you very much, Jeremiah.
How much do I get?
Ethan will determine that later. We'll talk to you after the podcast.
Jeez.
So Jeremiah wants to know, what does Hank think about the C6 ZR1 in The Last Stand?
What's The Last Stand?
Here we go.
I am not sure.
It's a movie.
It is a movie about a drug lord.
Is that the one where they sent it off a cliff or destroyed it or something?
Oh, it's got Schwarzenegger in it. I don't actually know.
I think that's the one where they destroyed that car to make the movie, which is an absolute waste of a perfectly good car.
Yeah, I can't tell.
There you have it.
Yeah, well, hey, there's Hank's opinion.
That's a problem.
I love it.
Hollywood with too much money, just, somebody could have bought that car. Somebody who needed a deal on a car or something could have a Corvette in their garage, and instead they did some travesty like destroying it just for the views on the big screen.
That's right.
That's why I don't go to the movies.
We learn more. All right, hey, thank you very much, Hank, for coming down again tonight. We'll talk to you next week. Thank you, everybody. That was Corvette Curmudgeon, brought to you unwittingly by the Corvette Buy-Sell Trade Group on Facebook. There's your source for cranky boomers, overpriced Corvettes, and reinforced stereotypes.
So, I have a confession to make.
Yes.
one of Hank's quotes was actually stolen directly from an actual Corvette curmudgeon on the Corvette buy-sell trade group.
Oh, was it really?
Yes, somebody posted a Corvette with high mileage, and the guy responded, probably a lot cheaper to buy a TV instead of driving aimlessly.
Really?
That was an actual quote.
That's
from
amazing.
An actual
It's pretty
Corvette
good.
curmudgeon.
I like that.
Devin Ruckus says we're going to give Hank a stroke with all these astronomical Corvette numbers. We got to be careful, boys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
So
boy.
we're talking a little bit about EVs. Again, I'm sorry. Before we get back into that, thank you all for being here tonight. This is Switchcast. I'm your host, Doug Tabbitt. If you're watching live, feel free to throw those comments and questions in, and we will do our best to get to them throughout the show. Also, if you are listening on YouTube, TikTok, or especially on the audio platforms, please, if you enjoy this podcast, help us out with the algorithms. We have been growing steadily since day one, and we appreciate all of you for that. But if you would love to help us out, that would be great. Write us a review on the platform on Spotify or Apple. Share it, like it, anything you can do that will help us out with those algorithms. That would be awesome. So we appreciate you, and we're not asking you for money. We're just asking you to help us out to grow. And that way we can stay with you guys. With that said, continuing a little bit of the discussion about EVs. So we're talking about the Ram Charger and stuff, and we've talked about EVs a lot. One may say we've beat that subject nearly to being unalived, but it bears continual discussion because it is an ongoing topic, honestly. I mean, for those of us who are internal combustion enthusiasts, there's a very real possibility that we may lose what we love, potentially, and only due to legislation. But I wanted to specifically focus on the state of California and EVs as it relates to California, because the old adage says, as goes California, so goes the nation. So this kind of popped into my mind last week because I was looking up the regulations for California and bringing in an imported vehicle from overseas, so specifically a European Ferrari, which will pass emissions here in the U.S. and it might in California, but we don't know. So the problem is, if you bring in a car from overseas to register it in the great Republic of California, you need, goodness gracious, the following forms: application for title or registration, verification of vehicle, lien satisfied, legal owner, title holder release, statement of facts, declaration of gross vehicle weight, vehicle vessel transfer, and reassignment. You may also need evidence that your foreign import vehicle meets United States federal motor vehicle safety standards. And this is not a may, this is actually you will. Because vehicles manufactured after 1995 have to have the federal certification label attached to the vehicle confirming the Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standards certification, which they don't have because they're not manufactured for the U.S. market. Now, many of the vehicles manufactured overseas are manufactured to the exact same safety standards. They just don't have the U.S. sticker. You also need a copy of a letter from the manufacturer confirming that the vehicle meets U.S. emission standards and motor vehicle safety standards, which manufacturer is not going to give you because they didn't manufacture it for the U.S. market. They even admit on their website, you can usually only get this evidence for vehicles manufactured in Canada. No kidding, because North American spec vehicles are all the same. Puerto Rico, Mexico, Canada, U.S., they all use the same VIN number, same emissions, same 5-mile-an-hour bumpers, et cetera, et cetera. You also need a certificate stating that the vehicle has been inspected by a California Air Resources Board licensed laboratory. Ironic that the acronym there is CARB, because they hate carbs. Evidence that the vehicle meets the EPA and California emission standards. This includes an EPA and California emissions label attached to the vehicle, a smog certificate. This applies to gasoline vehicles manufactured after 1968 or diesel vehicles manufactured after 1980. So basically, if you import a vehicle from overseas, you can't get it registered in California. They don't want it there. And the irony is you're probably not going to use it that much. Their goal was to essentially stop non-collector vehicles from being registered there, but anybody importing a car more than 30 years old is going to be a collector vehicle. Nobody's doing that to like put 50,000 miles a year on. But moving on from there, that's just an example of how crazy California is with this stuff. You can take an imported vehicle as long as it's 25 years old and you can register it in any other of the 49 states, pretty much no issues. They're also moving, California is banning gas appliances for any new construction on certain types of buildings because they want everything to be electric. We're all familiar with the mandate of California that all new cars sold by 2035, that's only 11 years away now, must be electric vehicles, not just hybrids, EVs. And it's a rolling scale too as well. So I don't remember the exact percentages, but by 2032, it's like, 70 or 80%. But this is not the first time they've done this. I was pulling from memory, but I found an article that confirmed this. So a New York Times article from 1995 says that California in 95 repealed a mandate that within 2 years, 2% of all EVs be electric. And they repealed it because, one, there wasn't the demand for the consumers. They just weren't buying it, and the product wasn't available. And 10% by 2003 was the mandate. So by 2003, 10% of them had to be EVs, which at the time it was like you have the Honda Insight and the GM EV1. That was it.
Yeah.
And the Honda Insight did okay. The GM EV1 was a nothing. But it's just proof that long ago, California was making rules that had no grounding in reality. Pun intended. Grounding. So it wasn't until just a couple years ago that California reached the 10% number. But amazingly, in the last 2 years, they've more than doubled the percentage of EV sales, and they're over 21%, which is 3 times the national average.
Wow.
Of new vehicles being sold there. So California is making progress on that front. I don't think it's due to any government action or mandates or anything like that, though. I think it's just because California's like Teslas, and there's a lot of progressives out there, and like it's a cool thing to have. It's a status symbol. There's a lot of people with a lot of money out there, and they can afford them. So I would almost guarantee you, if California did nothing political to advance this, that they would still have 20% of new EV sales.
Well, and I think it's easier out there too. It seems that their charging network is a little bit better in the big metropolitan areas, which is probably where a lot of these are being sold. I don't think some farmer in, Eastern California is going to be buying a Tesla. It's all in like LA, San Francisco. So, it's, if I lived in a place like that, an EV probably wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yeah. So, and I made that point with somebody on the internet. I should know better than to engage with commenters on the internet. As one of my favorite radio hosts says, you should never argue with fools because they will drag you down to their level and then beat you with experience. But, it's great for engagement and algorithms and stuff. So it's like, because they'll never stop, right? You can bait them, and they think they're changing your mind or making a difference, but or getting under your skin or living rent free in your head. But so one guy, I said essentially that, like, yeah, EVs are great for metropolitan areas because it reduces the concentrated smog, and like there's a good charging network. Never mind the fire hazard of having them all around there. But anyway, and he's like, and he said, well, everybody in California has them. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Call me when they have another rolling blackout. And he goes, oh, no. The EVs are part of the solution to rolling blackouts because they act like smoothing capacitors when everyone has them plugged in, not used.
I'm not sure that's how that works.
No, it is.
Oh?
It is if you're not using them.
Oh.
So literally, if all of your EVs in California are not used and they're fully charged and you have them plugged in, then they act as smoothing capacitors. But you'd have to not use them.
Ah.
And they have to like get to a full charge state as well. So
Before the rolling blackout starts.
Right. Exactly. Right. So you have to have, you still have to have all the power to charge them, and you have to charge them and not use them and just be ready for rolling blackout. And yes, then your EV is a nice smoothing capacitor, but don't use it.
That's an interesting argument. Just don't use your car.
It's a real odd one. Yeah. But the state still has to supply the power. That's a problem. But I've been thinking about, let's say the government wins. Let's say the activists win. Let's say maybe they come up with like solid state battery technology that works. Maybe they come up with some crazy charging system and, batteries that don't combust and burn for days. And let's say ICE vehicles go away. For a long time, I was thinking, okay, well, the motorsport country clubs and the private tracks are like the internal combustion enthusiasts' solace, right? Like they'll never be outlawed. They may not be street legal anymore, but we can still go to these places and enjoy our cars and use them off-road, right? Because even now the EPA is cracking down on vehicles, but they're not necessarily directly regulating race cars, right? You can buy a straight pipe for car, but it has to be off-road use only. So I'm like, okay, well, this is going to be like this huge rise in potential business long-term for these motorsport country clubs. But the more I think about it and the more I talk to owners of these places is I think that if the government and legislatures and the activist groups have their way, like they're going to ban those too, because they're simultaneously trying to make it extremely difficult for these places to do business. They're regulating by noise. They're regulating emission stuff. They're not. I know one track owner who's trying to clean up the track or remove tires and oil and other contaminants in order to actually clean the place up and make it better. And he's running into so much red tape because it's not how the EPA wants it done or whatever. They don't want him to succeed. And he's banging his head against the wall going, I'm trying to make things better. I'm trying to make the environment better and improve things. And all you guys are doing are standing in the way because of your stupid agenda. And that made me think, like, I feel like if EVs succeed because internal combustion vehicles are outlawed, like essentially if they succeed by force, not by technology in the free market, then internal combustion vehicles will be like static art. We won't even be able to use them on private tracks because the legislatures will make it prohibitively difficult. They may not outlaw them directly. They'll just make it either prohibitively expensive or difficult via red tape that they'll become effectively illegal even without an outright ban. So that's my concern, I think, and that's why I'm so outspoken against EVs. It's not the EVs. It's really not. It's the forcing of a specific solution that has a lot of major problems to it without an acknowledgement of those major problems.
And it's a terrifying future that all of us are afraid of because of what we're passionate about, what we love, and all of that. But I just have to hope that, well, it's actually kind of wild to me that is even a thing. Like, why I've never understood why they target tuning companies or make it difficult for tracks like this, because they're not the problem. Like, all of these things are not the problem. So why? But it's flashy headlines, or, oh yeah, look at us getting these rebels, or the rebels. What am I, like 50? Like these, I don't know what word I'm looking for, but you know what I mean. It's like going for the greater good, or whatever.
You know what I think it could be is who do bullies pick on?
Oh, people that can't pick back.
Right. And you grow up and you don't have bullies anymore. You have manipulators, you have scam artists. But like, you look at the psychological profile of manipulators and people who take advantage of other people and narcissists, and they have similar traits where they seek out people that they know are weak in a certain area, and they take advantage of them. So I think it's one of these things where the EPA is looking at it going, we got these small targets. We can take out all these little individual targets. We can take out tuning companies. We can take out car dealers. We can take out these car enthusiasts because there's so few of them they can't band together. And we'll take them out one by one, the little targets, and then we'll go after the big one, or simultaneously they'll go after the big ones. But the big ones they take longer. But they're weakening all of us in our resolve. And they're taking out these small targets while they can, because it's like, one racetrack in one state gets targeted. There's not some national coalition of all of them to come to the defense and fight the ginormous EPA. So I think there may be some of that.
Yeah, I guess I just have to hope that is a little too doom and gloom, and it's because it's just not feasible to outlaw combustion vehicles entirely, and I genuinely don't believe it will be in our lifetime.
I have a lot of hope because of what technology is discovering right now, especially with these zero emissions fuels. I'm really excited about that technology, and I think that could be a real game changer. We shall see.
I think so, and that's technology is an amazing thing, and it would be nice to be excited about technology again. It's been a while since I have been, because I don't know, technology is less fun than it used to be now.
That's true. A lot of automatic transmissions and almost self-driving cars.
Yeah, that's just not what I'm into.
Yep.
Anyway, with that being said, Switchcast is brought to you by Celebrity Machines. Celebrity Machines offers more than 250 different screen-accurate license plates as they've appeared in movies and TV shows such as Back to the Future, Ghostbusters, The Fast and the Furious, Breaking Bad, and so many more. Celebrity Machines also makes our dealer insert plates, as well as our commemorative 2539 plates from the fastest cannonball run ever. Visit CelebrityMachines.com for more info and use promo code SWITCHCAST to save 25.39% at checkout.
For the wall of shame, I feel like we need an entirely new wall of shame section just for imbecilic responses to videos on social media. Because we do get a lot of kind of ridiculous reviews and emails and such sent to the dealership. But there's so many dumb things said on social media. It's awesome. And this week's example is one that we were doing the winter driving video on the 997, and the snow was blocking up the oil coolers, which for the record, someone rightly pointed out that they were radiators, which, I mean, they're all radiators, but specifically for the cooling system, for the
like on the front,
cooling system.
In the front bumper.
However, because engineering, the radiators, the coolant radiators cool the oil. Don't ask me how, but they're intertwined with the oil cooling system. So like when you clear out the front radiators, it immediately dropped the oil temperature 20 degrees immediately. So anyway, but the response to this was a great one. He said, and I quote, "My dad got a 993 Carrera 4. It's air cooled and does not have an oil cooler. Problem solved."
Really?
Really. And I was like, yeah, no. I mean, I know they're called air cooled Porsches, but like really they're oil cooled. They're just not also water cooled. The air is the additional cooling. Like you still have an oil cooler. And he doubled down on it with,
Of course.
the 993 is air-cooled, same as all the gens before it, so no oil radiator. I'm like, yeah, you should probably do a little research before you double down on that.
Yikes.
Like, there is an oil radiator. It's in the left rear fender behind the rear wheel. But, like, I'm like, how do you think the engine is? You actually think that airflow is enough to cool an engine where you have metal things moving at up to 8,000 RPM,
Fueled by explosions.
that just
No, Doug. It says it's air cooled. That's all there is. There can't possibly be anything else.
yeah, it's just air.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay.
Just like the later generations are only water cooled. There's no air involved whatsoever in cooling the water.
No oil.
And there's no oil either.
Oil's only lubrication. It doesn't actually go through the walls of the cylinders and the block.
Doug is doing a great dance right now for everybody who's listening. Of like, it looks like he's sticking his fingers out and doing a little, little jig.
I was just like, okay.
People are on the internet are great.
It's
So great.
They this is why we have a podcast. They give us material. For example, let's talk about the Shrewd Negotiator.
Yes.
More internet.
So the Shrewd
material.
Negotiator today is a pretty fantastic listing. Those of you that remember what the Ford Probe is,
Yes. Car that would have been really amazing if it was rear-wheel drive.
yes, because they look great. Both
They do look
generations
great.
look fantastic. They got pop-ups. Like, oh,
Smallest
my goodness.
A-pillar on the planet, but
Oh, yeah. So this has been listed on Facebook Marketplace. I'll save the price for the end. Got 53,700 miles, so I would say
low mileage.
pretty low mileage, all
Yeah.
things considered. Throw a new battery in it and drive it home. Already.
That's never a good start.
Well, yeah, especially because it's probably not going to
It's
start.
like the non-running kit car tagline. Just needs a new battery.
Just needs a... Wow, my brain
What?
entirely
Ladies and gentlemen, Tyler Sanders.
A little louder.
so fired. My goodness. Anyway, back to the listing. I was trying to do too many things at once.
Hold on, let's just pause on
No,
that for a moment.
no. We can continue on.
Pause on that pause.
So the owner of this probe says, I brought this vehicle or bought it to turn it into a show car for Concours d'Elegance. Doesn't specify which one.
Wow. I'm pretty sure the only Concours that a Ford Probe would be eligible for is the Audrain 30 under 30
Yeah.
category.
Or if it was really bad, the Concours des Lemons, I think maybe.
Maybe, but he did say Concours d'Elegance.
That's true.
So we'll give that to him.
Never got around to it. Didn't have the funds.
It could also be like the proctologist's annual car show. Brought to you by Celebrity Machines.
Ayo, ass man plate.
Because it's Ford Probe.
So the car was restored mechanically for $3,167.16. Very specific.
Okay.
Given rust treatment
That's a
prevention.
cheap mechanical restoration.
Yeah, like what did you do? Rust treatment prevention for $3,000. Sat in the garage for almost 2 years. The entire suspension, struts, sway bar links, control arms, springs, and strut mounts all found to be okay for Virginia safety inspection by technicians.
I have questions, but keep going.
Emissions, I love this. Emissions EVAP lines running beside the fuel tank of the vehicle are totally disintegrated and no longer available for purchase from Ford, nor can you find them from aftermarket. This causes a check engine light to appear, but emissions aren't required for the vehicle of this age, so it's not hurting anything.
Except in California.
Transmission was serviced, thank goodness. Sunroof has rust and corrosion in the tracks in a Concours car.
I thought he mechanically restored it.
That's cosmetic, Doug.
Wait a minute. Hold on. At the beginning, you said throw a new battery in it and drive it home, but he did a mechanical restoration.
Yes.
What part of the mechanical restoration didn't include a battery?
Also, very good question. Well, he couldn't fit that into the $3,167.16.
Battery's like $167.16. So what did he spend
Already
the
at
other
budget,
$3,000
Doug.
on?
I would like to see those receipts.
So what did he do?
The front brake hoses were replaced. Brakes were flushed. All 4 tires were resealed at the bead. He couldn't just
Wait,
put
he
new...
didn't even
Dude, no new tires.
He didn't even do new tires. He just I've literally in 20 years I have never ever in 20 years of the car business heard somebody go, "Yeah, I just resealed the tires at the bead."
What? Why does that even... If it needs that, just get new tires. But thankfully they've all been rotated and balanced.
Ooh.
A coolant system flush was done, and a synthetic oil change. Thank goodness.
Hold on. Okay, so I'm adding up here, right? So he didn't do a battery. We know that. So he did a synthetic oil change. Let's say that's $150. Tire rotation and reseal and alignment. Let's say that's $300. Brake flush, $150. What else did he do? Coolant flush and transmission service. So he did the fluids and filters essentially. Yeah. Okay, so like we'll say $800.
Did the transmission have to be opened?
Where did the other $2,300 go?
God, that's definitely not to the sunroof or the battery or the tires. My goodness.
Oh my gosh.
The price for this is I think my favorite part. This person wants $16,000 for this probe.
Wow.
That's a lot of money.
I think he must be a proctologist because you would have to bend over to pay that.
Hey-o.
Oh.
Ethan is disgusted.
For a probe joke, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, man.
$16,000.
God.
I think that $12,000 Grand Caravan is a better deal than that.
The one that they towed a trailer to the doctor.
Yes.
Yeah.
The other best thing is that probe is an automatic. So it's like not even a manual.
Oh, come on.
So disappointing.
What a fail. What a fail. Well, we've talked enough. Let's go to questions.
Yes, and our question of the week, or questions of the week, is brought to you by Nuts for Sticks. Nuts for Sticks is a brand celebrating the manual transmission in all its forms. Forget those flappy paddles because we like shifting ourselves. Check out our fun and funny stick-themed shirts at nutsforsticks.com and save 10% on your order using the discount code SWITCHCAST. That is nutsforsticks.com and use code SWITCHCAST.
Side note, before the questions, I do have to say, we are in the process of restocking everything on the Nuts for Sticks website, including new Switch Cars t-shirts. So if you're a extra small or an extra large, we have what you want. But for everybody else, we will have what you want very soon. So keep checking back.
Heck yeah. First question is Tyler DeJohn, who is a longtime listener, asks, when breaking the cannonball...
first-time caller.
Well, and not even a caller.
You get my drift.
I do. When breaking the Cannonball records, what is the music playlist?
Police frequencies, really.
Yeah, you got to focus so much. You're not trying to bop all the way across the country.
Accidentally, on the second Cannonball, the music playlist was Dancing Queen over and over again because it was like every time that Arnie's phone would connect again randomly to the Audi, not iDrive, whatever that system is called, it would just like he only had like one song on his Apple playlist or whatever automatically plays. So we'd just be like driving along at 150 miles an hour and it's Dancing Queen.
That's pretty good.
Anyway, and just like a dozen times across the country, we would just hear Dancing Queen. So
heck yeah.
Could never predict when or why it just started.
Just randomly syncs up. Well, it's alphabetized, right? So presumably ABBA, A-B-B-A, the artist, right?
Maybe.
No one's...
that's not a bad... Yeah, probably
that's
just
my guess
from the
as
top.
to why, which is very frustrating. Every time you get in the car, it's like, all right, we're going to restart every song you have from the same place.
But it wasn't every time we got in the car. It was like seemingly random. Like he'd take a phone call or something. And
then I would just sync back to Dancing Queen. That's pretty good, man. I like that.
So we nicknamed the Audi S6 Dancing Queen.
Tender
along
memories.
with the Fraud Taurus. We haven't... Both nicknames. Dancing Fraud Taurus Queen.
That doesn't roll off the tongue quite as nicely, I don't think. Todd Perkins, who is another regular listener. Thank goodness we have at least two. I know you're a, quote, watch guy, as am I. Lots of car enthusiasts are also into watches. Any thoughts on a segment every few weeks?
I don't think we have time for that.
No. Plus, that could be a good time for me to take a bio break, because I know absolutely nothing about watches and would be entirely useless.
No, it's a good question that those interests do cross over. I am honestly not a watch guy, quote unquote. I do like watches. I have a few that I like, but I'm not into them like a lot of people are. I don't go to watch meetings or whatever. I just wear the watches I like and buy the ones I like, and kind of just it's kind of like my Corvette ownership. I don't go to the Corvette club meetings, and I'm not a Corvette guy. I just like my Corvette. So I would be the worst person to host that. And honestly, like we're trying to create. Ultimately, we're trying to be entertaining here, and I don't think there's anything entertaining about watches. Like I don't know. Maybe Matt Farah's Watch and Listen podcast is entertaining, but I'm like, you're talking about watches. They tell time and they look pretty. I think we'd lose some people other than the diehards, and we're going for a mass audience, So it's a good question, valid question, but there's enough watch enthusiast stuff out there. We're not going to try to cross over into that.
What is your thing outside of cars, though? Like, if it's not, it's like watches are like, you're interested in it, but like it's not like your thing. Outside of cars, what would you say?
My wife.
Yes?
I love my wife.
Well, that's great. I meant like a hobby.
Ethan's like, get this out of here.
No, that's great. What a fantastic answer, right?
We're gonna tell Aaron.
Like a hobby.
I mean, I have a lot of them. I don't know. Music probably would be the number 2.
All right, makes sense.
Doing sport things like water skiing, boating, skiing, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But I'm not like nerdy about any of them.
Sure.
I'm interested in music because I like it and it makes me feel good. And I like perfecting my craft, but I never listened to a podcast about music. I don't know.
Oh, good answer. The wife answer was a good answer.
Well, thankfully you've satisfied Ethan tonight, Doug.
I was just curious. I was curious what he would say.
Anywho, next up.
Nope. Gonna leave that one.
Moving right along.
Next up, Denny Z, who submitted this question via switchcast.live. Thank you very much for visiting the website that is all things Switchcast. Those of you who do not know, you should check it out. That's where we post all of the things that you could possibly need to know, and you can submit questions for us to ask Doug.
I think we lost Doug there.
No, I'm trying to give him a second over here by regaling the glory of Switchcast.live, and he's dying in the corner. Sorry, unaliving in the what can I say?
Yeah, that's unaliving in the corner.
That's also not good. Anyway, so Denny Z usually listens to the podcast a few days after it's posted, so we thank you for doing that so much. They currently drive a 10-year-old Jetta GLI 6-speed.
How many check engine lights?
I don't think he says.
Okay.
At least one. It's come to his attention he needs a dad car. He's got 2 kids, a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old, and he's 6'5". So
it just came to his attention.
Yeah, he's a little behind the 8 balls.
Wait a minute, a Jetta GLI is not a dad car?
I also am confused. That it's a 4-door sedan. What more and you have 2 kids. It's not like you need to fit 3 kids in the back.
All right, well, keep going.
So once something a bit larger, maybe that's it because he's 6'5". Although the Jetta fits him very well. Don't know why he needs something bigger. So here's where he wants your thoughts. Are you ready, Doug?
I've been ready.
Over the past 6 months, Denny has been looking and driving dozens of cars. Volkswagen Atlas, massive.
No.
Jeep Grand Cherokee.
No.
Mid-2000s Volvo V70R.
Yes.
Early 2000s BMW wagons.
Yes.
There's 2 very different groups of cars Denny's looking at here.
Yes.
The correct group and the wrong group. He's amazed at how many cars that say they're 4 to 6 years old have, over 100,000 miles by a long shot. He's also a car guy and has mostly driven Porsches and Volkswagens most of his life. And his Friday drive to work car is an 04 996.
So he's broke.
Yeah. And he has a 996. So he's probably got bore scoring, no money, but he's been having a great time.
And he spent $20,000 on check engine lights on his Volkswagens.
Yes. So do you think, because of your involvement in the overall automobile industry, a lot of these newer cars that have so many miles, do they belong to individuals that drive Uber, Lyft, Grubhub, DoorDash, all of that kind of stuff? He says he's had a person deliver an Amazon package to them in December, and it looked like they were using their own car. It was like a Ford Explorer packed with boxes.
This was not the way I was expecting this question to go. I thought his question was, what should I buy? But it's no. Is everybody driving Uber and Lyft with new cars? I mean, probably yes, because there's restrictions with Uber on the year of car that you can have. You can't have a super old car. I tried with Seascape to do. It was, I don't know if it was Uber, but it was maybe it was Turo or something. But they all have restrictions on them. And I think a lot of people are financing them as well because they're looking at the cash flow and saying, well, my payment is X and I can make X plus whatever on Ubering or doing DoorDash, which is, a bad calculation because they're not factoring in depreciation and maintenance and all the other expenses. But I think that's probably the case. I mean, it's certainly a whole pretty giant cottage industry out there of stuff like that. But I mean, I wouldn't buy a car that new anyway. Like, I like his direction of old Volvo wagon, something like that. But I feel like that's no different than the Jetta GLI he's driving anyway. So
yeah,
that's not a dad car. But maybe I don't know.
Yeah, it's a bit of an interesting thought. But I
two
think
Corvettes would be a good solution.
Why two?
Well, it's a dad. I mean, his wife can drive one with one kid, and he can drive one with the other kid. I mean, they're a hatchback. They got lots of cargo space.
He can buy some New Balances.
That's a great dad car. Yeah, they're reliable. They're fuel efficient. I mean, two Corvettes driven at the same time probably get the same overall fuel efficiency as one Volkswagen Atlas.
Now that is some dad math. If I've ever boy math, I don't know what are kids saying these days.
And it depreciates less.
Yeah.
And you'll have
Dad
less check
math?
engine lights.
Look, Ethan, I don't know.
Common Core. It's Common Corvette math.
Sure. And on that note,
that
ladies
was a
and gentlemen,
good one.
that was great.
Round of applause, please. Peanut Gallery is giving you a pat on the back.
Oh my goodness.
On that note.
Yeah. Oh, we should just end it there.
I was
The
saying,
whole
is it
thing.
time for props and flops?
It
Doug?
is time for props and flops. For those of you watching live, stick around for the bonus round of live Q&A afterwards. We call it Tip Talk, ideally because we hope for tips. For the rest of you listening on the audio podcast, thank you for joining us, and this will conclude our regularly recorded segment. The props and flops are brought to you by Switchcars.
And Switchcars, as you all know, is the enthusiasts dealership where we buy, sell, consign, service, and store only cars that we like ourselves. So check out our handpicked inventory at switchcars.com. And Doug, what is our pick of the week from Switchcars inventory?
Our pick of the week, it is inbound, getting on a truck tomorrow.
Isn't
I
that
think.
cheating?
No.
It's not here.
We own it.
Okay.
It's a 2007 Porsche GT3 RS with 32,000 miles. I personally sold this car back in 2015 and have been trying to buy it back since like 2017. Extremely difficult customer to make up his mind, but we finally got it back the other day. It's a very high spec car, big options on it, good interior deviation, ceramic brakes, et cetera, but it is a driver's car. It's been on track some and has a few minor blemishes, but no like big oopsies or anything. So it's a good price point and a good car for somebody who wants to drive a GT3 RS.
What color is it?
White, Carrera white. Yes.
Does it have the graphics?
It does. Yes. Yep.
Hacha.
Speaking of Hacha, well, Daihatsu. Close enough.
Almost.
Our flop of the week, somewhat relevant to the question we got in the bonus round last week about K-trucks being legal or not legal in the U.S. This article via CNN, Daihatsu, the Japanese automaker owned by Toyota, has halted production after admitting it has been forging safety tests for 30 years.
What? Yikes.
Yeah, 3 decades.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Wow.
The shutdown will last through at least the end of January, affecting 9,000 workers. So at least those 9,000 people will be able to get in that paid time off so that they can go tour the Corvette plant before that suspends tours.
Yeah, they're definitely going to fly all the way to Kentucky in the United States from Japan.
Well, what else are they going to do for at least a month? and the Corvette plant shutting down their factory tours, so it's get in some time. But anyway, yes, the Daihatsu has been lying to everybody. So all of you people driving Daihatsus feel wronged.
Seriously.
I don't think a single listener of our podcast has a Daihatsu, but
yeah, there's going to be one person that over the next week is going to be like, I've got one.
You've been lied to. You are unsafe.
Yeah.
How do you feel? Is it like I remember when the Volkswagen Dieselgate thing came out? I had one at the time, and I was kind of like, sweet, you guys like got one over on the EPA for 10 years. Because I don't actually believe that they were like killing the world by like, lying a little bit about their gas mileage and emissions. But a lot of people felt personally wronged, and they felt like morally culpable because they were somehow like contributing to, the right whale, population being diminished or something like that by driving their diesel Volkswagen. But I don't know. I don't know that I can identify with that feeling or empathize with that, but it is what it is. So Daihatsu's being unsafe or not endangering anybody but the people driving them. So I guess there's no moral, moral guilt there. Our prop of the week, via Fox News, Maine, the state of Maine delays a vote on California-style EV mandates indefinitely. They delayed the vote indefinitely after a massive power outage left more than 400,000 people without power.
But what about the capacitors, Doug? The smoothing, does that not work for those?
They didn't charge them in advance,
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
But, 400,000 people in Maine is a lot. That's like basically all of the Maine natives. Everybody else just moved from Massachusetts and settled in southern Maine. But that's a big deal, and I'm glad they actually recognize this as maybe this ain't such a good idea.
Say, Doug, your Maine is showing. Like all those darn people from Massachusetts moving up here, and
well, no, you get a big winter storm up there, and you got to admit what's real and say maybe these EVs aren't such a good idea anymore. I don't know about this. Maybe the diesel thing is just something.
Oh my goodness, is that so? Is that
Do you have family that talks like that?
No, actually, none of my family has a Maine accent. Other than my sister's husband.
That's it?
Ralph. He runs a convenience store called Ralph's Got Gas.
Doggone,
and
man.
he has a legit Maine accent.
That's amazing.
I was gonna say,
one time we were up there, and somebody came in, and they said, we need a bear tag. Because they just shot a bear, and they have scales there, so they need to tag their bear.
Right, yeah.
It's just a day in the life of a Maine gas station.
Yeah.
Just, no big deal.
Ralph's Got Gas.
Yeah. Anyway, he's not a sponsor, though, so let's stop talking about it. Can't give him too much free advertising.
Yeah, get out of here.
Ralph trying to go on over.
Anyway, thank you to
Ralph.
our actual sponsors, Boxcast, Nuts for Sticks, Switchcast, Celebrity Machines, Parallel Printworks, and Stephen Holm Woodworking. Thank you to our producer, Ethan Huffnagel, and our Ed McMahon and banterer, Tyler Sanders. Our bumper music is provided by Emily and Ivor. You can stream their full album on Spotify or SoundCloud. This episode will be available next Monday in audio format wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out switchcast.live to submit questions, sign up for our newsletter, or catch up on old episodes. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in 2 weeks, Wednesday at 8 p.m. as we look forward to edifying, educating, and entertaining you on the drive of your life.
You need to fix that clap track there, Ethan.
Ooh, that was a brutal one.
It was a little weak
Stick
tonight.
around, live viewers. We'll do a Q&A here. Bonus round.
Oh, yeah.
I would just like to thank Mark, or otherwise known as Vampire Bear 13 from YouTube chat. He forgot we would be on tonight. Started a movie, but he turned it off to watch our podcast tonight.
What?
Yeah.
Movie must have sucked. Was it the Lamborghini movie?
Oh, he also had a 91 Probe GT and loved it. It was in blue.
Probes are awesome.
Yeah, they're sweet. It had a gray cloth
But
interior,
not
though,
for
Doug.
16 grand. For 16 grand, you could buy like the world's nicest Ford Taurus SHO. And which would you rather have, a probe or a show?
Yeah. You yeah. I feel like no, never mind.
Is that a probing question?
No, I was gonna make a joke in bad tastes. but
Do
I'm
it.
not. Nah, are you a prober or a shower?
Good heavens, man. Gosh. This is... Good grief. Egad, man. No one say anything. Just let him sit with that for a while. He's crying.
We're
The
taking
man
questions,
made
we're taking
himself
questions for Tyler at this moment. Any questions for Tyler?
cry. Yeah, let's press him on.
Good
that.
Lord.
Let's go.
God.
Okay, let's just get this freaking thing started here.
Yeah, let's.
Wow. Dan
To be
came
fair,
in
it was
hot
Doug
with
laughing
those
that killed me
drinks.
there. My joke was not that funny. But
It'll grow on you.
Okay, Telcare on TikTok. Speaking of EVs, thoughts on the Hoonigan's Audi they built for Electricana? Right? Yeah.
Electricana. I have not seen Electricana yet. I do appreciate all of the Gymkhana videos. I haven't watched it yet. I've seen some of the feedback of it, and as much as it's basically the feedback, it's a cool tribute to Ken Block. It lacked some of that luster of, I mean, a lot of, I think what made the Gymkhana great was the sensory experience, right? Like you saw dirt flying. They slowed everything down. You felt it. You know, you could almost smell things because stuff was burning and smoking and stuff like that. And you heard it, right? So like you couldn't actually smell and taste things. You couldn't feel the gravel coming off of the tires around the slides, but you heard it. Like, I don't know how you take and do it electrically. And maybe that's why I haven't watched it, is because I'm just like, meh. Every other Gymkhana, as soon as it came out, I'm like, gotta watch it. And I love watching them with my kid, but I don't know. I'll watch it eventually, but nah.
Skodman on TikTok. Where do you see the Porsche 997 dropping to and staying? You think they'll ever be 20K cars?
No.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if they ever were, but they've come up since then. And not just in like the 2021, 2022 bump where everything went up. Like since everything else went down in value in the last 10 months, nearly every performance car, sports car, luxury car has come down in value anywhere from 5 to 25%. The 997 in that 10 months has increased in value probably 10%. So it has bucked the trend because people saw it and said, no, this car actually has value in the midst of a declining market, in the midst of interest rates skyrocketing, not as a speculative thing. People said this car is worth more than the current market is pricing it at. So I don't think they'll ever be $20,000 cars.
I also don't think I see a world in when they will be worth less than a 996, like a comparable 996.
Because they have the same problems and they're a far better car.
Yes.
Yeah.
As a 996 owner, I do admit that. 997 is better, and mechanically they feel very similar, because I've driven a 997 you had. It felt almost exactly like my car.
Yeah.
From the driving dynamics point of view, because mechanically they are practically the same, the early ones at least.
Sure.
But they look better and the interior is better. So
yeah. And the overall fit and finish and just like tightness and, quietness of the overall car, how it's put together, the chassis rigidity, et cetera, is better.
for sure.
Yeah. No, it's not a $20,000 car. I think we sold one that needed an engine rebuild for around $20,000 last year, but that's it.
Wow.
Devin Ruckus would like to know what the big arrow pointing at you is. It says new decor, which Devin, I'm a little disappointed. You listen all the time.
Sorry.
You're constantly in chat.
It's a sign from the Audrain Tour d'Elegance, which was officially acquired by Bailey Walton.
Yes, and it's been there for a couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
Pointing at you.
It's slightly off camera, though, usually.
Oh, maybe that's why. Never mind. I'm sorry, Devin. I retract my disappointment.
I meant to move it. But.
Hey, can I steal one from YouTube? I saw this.
Sure.
I wanna ask Doug this
Yeah.
one. The Daniel Schreiber question. I never finished last week's, but did y'all figure out what video really gave you your kick? I saw one of your shorts a few months ago and realized you had a channel. Curious what you would say. Is there a video you thought
gave us like our? I mean, nothing on our channel. Yeah, no, nothing. Well, on TikTok, the trolling the Lamborghini kit car owner, like that, set off our TikTok. I mean, that gave us a huge jump. That allowed us to be monetized. That got us kind of where we needed to be.
We were monetized before that. We had
Nope.
2.
No,
Yes, we
because
were.
that one didn't monetize. That got us to where we could actually get monetization.
Okay.
It was like right after that, because that one
it
had like
might be
3
right.
million views and we didn't get paid a dime, and I was super bummed. But that was the one on TikTok.
You're
on
right.
YouTube,
You're
like our
right.
YouTube hasn't really taken off, but we also haven't like pushed our YouTube from an actual video creation standpoint. Because we're not making long form videos. We're doing the podcast and we're doing shorts as highlights. So we haven't found our thing on YouTube yet, other than just broadcasting a live podcast. They're using it as a medium for that. Yeah. So the answer is we don't know yet.
I'll give a quick nod to a very, very, very early video we talked about a little bit earlier, which was a podcast highlight from like probably 18 months ago of Doug answering the question of what are your thoughts on a modern day cannonball with no regulations whatsoever. That was the first one I remember thinking did well, and it's a fascinating video. You should go and you should watch it, because the responses to that were all across the board. So.
Yeah. Well, and I think some credit goes to Ethan as a producer as well, because he was learning what worked and what didn't work. And so we were trying to do more long form videos, and we were doing shorts, and the shorts weren't working the way we were doing. And so we completely abandoned the whole YouTube thing. And then we came back around to it, and Ethan set up a schedule in a slightly different format for how we were doing shorts. And that worked much, much better. We're not like going viral or anything on YouTube, but we're consistently growing and getting consistent views. So Ethan kind of like taking a new perspective on how we do things, a new strategy, a new plan of attack, that certainly helped us out big time.
Always a learning process.
For sure. You know, there's been a bunch of folks in YouTube today. Love to see it, and they've been talking with each other. There's not actually any other questions in here for Doug.
Doggone.
So if you're still on YouTube, drop your questions in now.
I'm just here as like the bar entertainment.
I guess so.
Everybody's having conversations, drinking, and I'm playing music in the background.
Chatting amongst
great.
themselves.
Nobody even knows when the song is over. Just keep playing, monkey.
Okay, we can take it back to TikTok then. Rowan asks, have you seen the Bronco crash test?
Should I have?
I don't know.
I haven't.
Anyone
There's the
aware
answer to
of
the
this?
question. I have not seen the Bronco crash test.
Oh, that was a
Is it
letdown,
bad?
Sorry. Is it bad, or is it at the very least entertaining? Will
Next
we
question
laugh?
while I
Will
look
we
that up.
smile? Will we cry? BS asks, what do you... Don't laugh at BS. He asks, what do you think about the Focus RS?
I think they're pretty cool. That's the one with like the drift stick, right? Yeah. I think they're pretty cool. I had one for a minute and drove it, and this was before I had a 997 for my winter car. So I was thinking like, oh, this could be a winter car, and I drove it, and it was like cool and fast, but it didn't excite me. It was too synthetic, as best I remember it. So I was just kind of like, okay, that was cool. I drove one. Yes, it's fast. Yes, it's very capable, but it didn't personally do anything for me. It didn't move the needle, metaphorically.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely metaphorically.
User 39509867799414 asks, "Hi, what's the cannonball record for a Mazda Miata?" It's a good question. Is there?
It doesn't exist.
Is there one? There's not one.
Wow.
Well, I found my calling.
Jeremiah
I don't
Johnson,
think anyone has ever done it in a Mazda Miata, honestly.
Good question.
That would be kind of miserable.
Wow.
Unless you do like a new one. Jeremiah Johnson wants to know, when are you going to have Grady Leno on?
That's a very good question. So for those of you who don't know, Grady Leno is one of the team who has the coast to coast to coast cannonball record. That is New York to Los Angeles to New York, 64 hours and change, I believe. And they also have the We Touched All 48 States record. So like the fastest team to drive in all 48 states. 84 hours and change, 85 hours. We did talk about that, like a year and a half ago now. And then we just kind of like, I don't know, things happened and it hasn't happened yet. So good question. I'll reach out to him again because that would be a fascinating conversation. Do they still have? Yeah, because they still have the record. They still have the record.
Unless we have that Bronco thing pulled up, that's pretty much.
I mean,
all
I've
have
watched
in
like
our-
the offset video, and it's nothing spectacular. It actually kind of like bounces a little bit sideways, and like there's not much damage.
Is it just supposed to be impressive? Because I looked it up as well, and it seemed to be
It is
pretty
kind of
great
impressive
for the type of car it is. And I guess the Jeep, like Cherokee, rolled over.
Yeah,
same
this
test.
thing just kind of like slid sideways
Yeah.
in this smooth motion, and
pretty
It was very impressive. Yeah.
I think
but that's
to
the only video I found was the offset test. Yeah, I don't. Yes, that was Rusty. Rusty Nations. He did a Fiat 500 in the musket ball. But yeah, yep.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I think to end off the evening here,
Yeah,
'cause Ethan,
please.
you're good.
Please go
Devin
for it.
Ruckus, Doug, wants to know, what's your go-to gas station food?
Not gas station food. Have you seen this figure? I eat
heavens.
healthy. It isn't. I mean, honestly, I don't eat gas station food. If I pick up like snacks on the go, I will buy not on a Cannonball because these will give you the. I'll get like naked smoothies and the cheese fix munchies. And but yeah, I don't eat like actual gas station food like wings, or like some of you guys like to go to Sheetz afterwards and get their stuff. I'm like, I can't do that. Definitely not gas station sushi.
Ugh,
That's all Mark Spence right there. Yeah, I searched the unofficial Cannonball spreadsheet for the term Miata, and nothing comes up. So there you go. If you want the Mazda Miata record, go for it.
And I guess I know now, if we drive to Amelia again this year, you're not allowed to have naked smoothies in the car.
Naked smoothies?
As he said,
It's the
it was-
beef jerky, honestly, that gives the...
Yeah.
But-
Oh, that's it.
Guess
What
not.
are you getting from the gas station?
Oh, I cannot eat gas station food.
You're not allowed to have smoothies naked in the car.
That's
Well, thank- I
didn't-
know.
That was where my.
I
didn't
thought
know
maybe
where-
we were at that level, Doug, but I guess not. We're not that comfortable.
Gotta put the towel down first. All right, everybody. Thanks